I, 49F, and my ex-husband, 50M, let's call him Kevin, got divorced, and the straw that broke the camel's back was when I came home with a present for him for our anniversary and he accused me of getting it from whoever I was sleeping with and threw it away. He didn't even open the present, which was a Rolex watch he had looked at multiple times and expressed he liked. I talked to a divorce attorney after this and we filed within a month and he moved out. I told my attorney about this and he wanted to know where he moved out as Kevin wouldn't list his new address. It was revealed he moved in with his new girlfriend, 50F, let's call her Jenny. I actually knew Jenny as our oldest kids have been in the same class since pre-K. I also knew Jenny and her husband, 52M, let's call him Terry, just got divorced right before us too. It takes a little over a year to finalize the divorce since Kevin couldn't agree to any terms. A few weeks after the divorce, Kevin and Jenny went public with their relationship on a luxury beach trip. Terry sends me a friend request that I quickly accepted. I'll admit, at this moment I was being shallow because he's undeniably attractive. He's 6 feet 3 inches, tan from working outside on his farm, and fit, and he messaged me right after. Just asking if I had seen the post and blah blah blah. The conversation quickly turns into making plans to get dinner and drinks one night. It was Kevin's first weekend with the kids, so Terry and I went out. It sounds sappy, but in that moment, I knew this could be something. It felt natural talking to him and like I didn't have to walk on eggshells or tiptoe around things. He was the first person to actually look at me while I'm talking and we agreed on almost everything. I invited him over after we left and we had a few more drinks and watched a sappy love movie and had so much fun making fun of how unrealistic it was. We somehow finished a bottle and a half of wine, so I invited him to stay the night. He offered to sleep on the couch, but I told him he could sleep in the bed since I still wasn't sleeping well because I wasn't used to sleeping alone. The next morning, I made us breakfast and we agreed that we should do this another time and that it was great. As we were eating, Kevin texted me that he was down the road to drop the kids off. Terry rushed to her, dressed, and left. It felt terrible making him leave like that, and of course, the first thing Kevin asked was about if he saw Terry's truck coming down our road. I told him nope and he dropped the kids off and left. That was 4 years ago, and shortly after that, Terry admitted to me that he wanted a relationship and I said yes. We kept it private all this time because it's really no one's business to know. As long as we are happy together. We just celebrated our 4th anniversary and beginning in November, Terry started to hint that he wanted to propose and wanted me to move to his farm in another town since he lived an hour and a half away. Our anniversary was December 1st and he planned a surprise dinner with all our friends to propose to me. I couldn't believe that he really did all this for me. All our friends were incredibly supportive and agreed that we seemed happy together and deserved to be happy with each other. The next day, I made a post that we were engaged. This was the first post about Terry and I on each other's page. Right after the post, we started to get calls, texts, FB messages from Jenny's family, Kevin's family, and Jenny sent a long message to Terry saying she couldn't believe we would do this and didn't check with them first and how insensitive it was to get engaged when we knew her and Kevin were on a break because of the fighting. He ignored all her messages until we both got messages from my family saying we were shitty people for getting engaged in spite of Jenny and Kevin and how they no longer wanted to see my kids and wouldn't be attending the wedding. Terry started to help me sell my house since he also works for a real estate company, and we packed all my stuff up and sold all the furniture and moved me into Terry's house. I left my job and was actually able to get a job at his company as a secretary. He has 2 sons who treat me very well. They don't call me their mom, I don't expect them to either, but they do tell people I'm their stepmom, and they surprised me with a basketball mom shirt with their names and numbers for Christmas. I couldn't stop crying after seeing it because it was so meaningful to me to see how they considered me their stepmom. Kevin had the kids for Christmas and we were supposed to begin the normal split custody in January. Since the first of the year, the kids have said they don't want to see me, and Kevin said he's talking with an attorney to change our custody schedule and that he wants full custody. I am finally happy with someone that loves me, planning a very small wedding with only friends and family that was supportive of our relationship, and have 2 new stepsons that love me, but I feel so empty without my kids. I took them to meet Terry and he had been to dinner with us a couple times and he treated them like his own and he never got on to them or was mean to them. I feel so conflicted about what to do. My kids won't even talk to me over the phone and refuse to see me. So, am I the asshole for getting engaged to Terry? Edit. My kids have always known Terry and were introduced to him after a year and a half of us dating. They had no problem with us being together and knew about the engagement as Terry took them to pick out the ring. It's not like he's a total stranger to them as they've been around him multiple times and been to his house. I hope this can clear up some confusion and I plan to elaborate more when I have an update. Mini update. I was able to talk to my usual therapist about a session next week to help the kids talk and maybe help them understand the truth. It's next Friday when I would usually pick them up, so hopefully it goes well. TLDR, I finally went public that I got engaged to my ex-husband's new girlfriend's ex-husband and my family has started to resent me. Our kids don't want to see me and my ex-husband wants full custody. Ada has no consensus bot, but based on the comments, OOP was NTA. Comments where OP has replied. Koala Bear 20 NTA, are your kids okay? What have you done wrong? Their dad is allowed to have a new relationship but you aren't? Oop, they're okay from what I've seen. Terry and Jenny's kids have tried to be friends with them, but they have said my kids don't talk to them. I won't try to act like I've done nothing wrong, but I feel like when they started to ignore me, I started to go to Terry's kids' sporting events more. I would attend my kids' games, but they didn't even acknowledge me after or before. I felt useless going, so I didn't even attend the last game. But I still dropped off presents for Christmas, offered to take them to dinner for Christmas without Terry or his kids, and to just spend time with them. Unlucky you 3574 NTA, how old are your kids? I wonder what their dad/your ex is putting into their heads. While he's going for custody, you may want to go after him for parental alienation. He sounds like a real winner. Oops, 17, 15, and 10. DD, you've been dating 4 years and your kids didn't know it? You got engaged without introducing the kids to the boyfriend? Oop, they already knew Terry. He has kids the same age that played the same sports, and I did tell them I was dating someone after a year and a half. I still wasn't sure how they would react, but they seemed fine with it, and I introduced them to Terry shortly after that. Since he didn't live close, he tried to come over on the weekend, but it would usually only be a couple times a month. Like I said, they went to dinner with us and have been at the house with us together. They really didn't act like they cared, to be honest. Book Reader 123, I don't understand why they have a problem with it now and not before everyone knew about Terry. I also think that your ex is telling them lies and would go to a lawyer. What did the kids say about you moving? Do they live with their dad, or what's the deal? As you said, Terry lives 1.5 hours away? Where are his sons? Do they go to the same schools? Oop, I told the kids about moving and they said they wouldn't be totally interested as they like their current school. They are currently with their dad. Terry was awarded full custody after Jenny received a DUI with one of their kids in the car during their custody hearing. Jenny lives in their old house that he gave her after the divorce, and now he lives in a ranch house he built with the kids and they attend a school there. Harry Potter Freak 23, I don't know if anyone caught this, but within the first paragraph, the ex says Op was cheating. Then she doesn't say much of anything else. Granted, she doesn't have to say anything. But she doesn't deny or confirm. I am also not saying the ex wasn't cheating. But why gloss over the fact that he told her she was cheating first? Oop, I realized after that the first part of my post got deleted. I was promoted to director of my department and was working extra hours. It was during a busy season, so I was working even more, and he started to accuse me of cheating when I was gone longer than expected. I never did cheat. Update, February 18, 2024. I'm not sure how much of an update this is, but here we go. To start, I'm sure him and Jenny had an affair when we were still married, and I really don't care to know. I don't let them waste any of my energy worrying about them and what they do or did. I probably could have worded the end of my post better. Terry isn't a stranger I just pulled off the street and got engaged to. My kids have always known Terry, as his kids are the same age and play the same sports. I told them I was dating someone after a year and a half and introduced them to him shortly after. They've been to dinner with Terry and me and been with me when Terry came over and been to Terry's house where he lives. He's a very busy and hard-working man, so we didn't get to spend very much time together where I live or with my kids, so I would usually spend time at his house, but I never skipped time with my kids to see him. Terry is a farmer, land real estate agent, owns his own business, and a volunteer firefighter, so that is why I decided to move there instead of the other way around. He has roots in his area while I was free to move. I did tell my kids prior to the move and engagement that I would like to one day move there. They did tell me that they really wouldn't be interested in moving there as they like the school they attend and didn't want to switch. I was fine with that and told them if I did, I would still like them to stay even if it's for a weekend or when they're on break. Terry also took all 3 of my boys and his 2 to pick out my ring, so it wasn't a shock to any of them. Terry asked all 3 of my kids individually if they were fine with it before he even proposed. I was also asked about if they could come to his house, and yes, they could. Terry has a very nice ranch house he built with 5 full bedrooms and 3 empty finished rooms in the basement that could be bedrooms. They've already stayed there too before the engagement and had no problems. Terry also has a room that he calls his office that he offered to clear out to make room for an upstairs bedroom, so one kid didn't have to sleep downstairs if all 5 were staying at his house, so they could have their own rooms and privacy. I didn't want to act like I was hiding my relationship with Terry, but we wanted to take things slow and not rush. Hence why we didn't post to social media or tell our exes. Obviously, friends knew. You can only tell people you're friends for so long before they catch on, but we only told very, very close friends who won't gossip and tell everyone. And lastly, the last question was about my job. Yes, I went from a director of a department to a secretary. A secretary making just under what I made as a director. You all would be very surprised what small town local business secretaries make. I'm a secretary/accountant for the land real estate company as well as Terry's business he owns and his farm. I go to work at 2:30 a.m. with him and don't leave until he does around 9 p.m. and still have farm chores after. So, for everyone degrading my career, I work my ass off. Now on to the update. After that post and the advice, I called my lawyer, who agreed that he can't keep the kids from me and that he was definitely doing something to make them flip like that. He did say we could go to court, But I told him I wanted to try and resolve it without court first. I'm not ashamed of it and I'll admit it, I see a therapist for my own health. I talked to her about getting a session with just my kids and she agreed. I called Kevin after that to say I want to have a talk with only the boys and he could drop them off, but he could not attend. The therapist was able to finally get them to open up. You Reddit detectives were correct. He turned the story to that Terry and I had an affair for years before we got divorced and even tried to tell the youngest that Terry could be his dad because I was cheating then. Which isn't true as I never cheated on Kevin in our entire relationship. I was able to tell the kids the full truth and I felt like a 50-pound weight was lifted off my chest. After, I had never been happier to hug all three of them. I made sure to express how much we miss them and are happy to have them home. And completely unexpected was all three gave Terry a hug next. Terry isn't one to cry about much or cry very easily, but the second they hugged him, I saw his eyes water up and I knew I was making the right decision and picked someone who loves these boys as much as I do. They spent the weekend with us and I was able to tell the older two the full story about Kevin and Jenny, how the marriage fell apart, and once again invited them to live with us. They both said that they actually wanted to, but since Kevin had fed them lies, they didn't want to be around us. They get out of school in May and are planning to move with us for the summer. This will hopefully be a good opportunity for them to bond with Terry's kids and their friends. I will not be pushing them to move here as it's their own choice, but deep down, I really do hope they do. I think going to a smaller school and living in a smaller town will be better for them than living in a city. I told my youngest a more watered down version of events. I did make sure to tell him that Kevin is his real dad and what he told him about Terry was not true. He seemed to understand it. So, for the moment, Kevin is fine with the boys moving here for the summer. All three asked him instead of me and I think that helped a lot. Showing him it was their decision instead of mine. To say I'm excited is an understatement. I'm over the moon with how much this is working out. I've talked with my lawyer and he said the older two are able to decide where they go, while Kevin and I would have to come to agreement for our youngest. I don't want full custody as I think kids need their father in their lives, but my lawyer is urging me to fight for full custody. With travel sports starting up, Kevin and I were able to agree on a temporary agreement of me getting the kids on weekends that they have a game. I will pick them up on Fridays, go to the game on Saturday, and bring them home Sunday. We've been talking with lawyers about a permanent agreement. They were able to agree with the older two having a decision as long as they didn't miss anything required such as school. Some things Kevin has told the kids is that Terry is still dependent on drugs. To make a long story short, about 2 years ago, Terry had been having neck problems and saw a chiropractor for the first time in his life. That chiropractor broke his neck in 4 places, C4 C7, resulting in him needing 2 surgeries and becoming addicted to painkillers. He was on them for a year and it took him another 6 months to get off, but he's been clean since of any prescription painkiller. Said that Terry and I wanted to take them away and never let them see their other family. Tried to accuse me of being addicted to drugs. I get even more sick and nauseous taking painkillers so I refused to take any. Even after a mastectomy and reconstruction surgery. And I also found out Jenny was calling them my boys and wanting them to take her last name. That is still Terry's because she refused to change it after the divorce. So, there's still lots we don't know and hopefully will one day. Now on to the next story. Story 2. Boyfriend said his ex was the right person at the wrong time. Is it reasonable for this to make me uncomfortable about our relationship? My boyfriend and I are in our late 20s and have been seriously together for 1 year now. We were hanging out with some of his friends and they fondly talked about his ex who he dated for over 4 years and broke up because she got a job in a new city and broke up. Thought that everything was fine until a girlfriend told me that she heard my boyfriend say that his ex was the right person wrong time and cautioned me. When we got home I asked him this and he confirmed he said that and I hated just how cavalier his response was. He said sure she was the right person at the wrong time but I've moved on and love you now. Like, he doesn't get it. I don't want to be someone he has to move on to. I don't see why he didn't see a problem with what he said. Sure he might be faithful to me but it gave me the ick that for him that she's the one who got away. I told him all of my feelings and he accused me of being insecure. I said that I needed some space to think about our relationship and whether I can continue being with someone who still considers an ex that one great love of his life and not his current partner. Am I the insecure one here? Look, I've been in relationships before and yes I did love them at the time but meeting my current partner trumps all those past feelings and I never had this philosophy that the right person breaks up with you. Because I believe in the saying that if they wanted they would. Makes it easier to move on. What he feels dents my trust in this relationship and makes me feel like I'm not worthy of being his biggest love. Ada? Comments where Op has replied. Commenter, many people have the one that got away. That shouldn't in any way affect their love or feelings for those in their lives in the present. Oop, the problem is he verbalized that his ex was the right person for him to others and to his own partner. We are all allowed to have private feelings about who we thought we could have ended up with. In my case, I had a serious relationship too, and it also ended because of external factors, and I didn't want us to break up then. Even I thought they were the right person for me so to speak, but I'm glad we separated because nothing trumps the feeling of gratitude of being with your current partner. The matter is, does he feel grateful looking back that he is no longer with her because he's with me? Because that's the only thing I care about at this point. I want alignment here. If he isn't glad he broke up with her, then it's a no-go for me. What do you mean by that? Him not being glad is a no-go? You can be perfectly happy about a heartbreak you experienced in the past because a much better person came along. Speaking in hindsight, of course. I may not be happy when I was experiencing the heartbreak, but I am now happy that I experienced the heartbreak in the past because I found a better partner in my present because of that. Time will tell if I really want to be with him given the shaky grounds here. You can be happy about sad events in the past if that lead to much better outcomes. For example, you can be happy your dream company turned you down from a job because you found something even bigger and better which you wouldn't have got had you not gone through the heartbreak of being rejected from that job. You can be happy that you got cheated on in the past because it saved you from building a life with that person. You can be happy you broke up with that boyfriend who dated you for 5 years and didn't propose to you because being in that relationship kept you from finding your husband. This isn't about being happy in the sense that you are going all out partying throughout as you're experiencing heartbreak, but making peace with the fact and knowing in your heart that you will always choose the present if given the choice to what reality you get to have. Rom-coms where he winds up with the ex are based on less. You deserve to be his only choice. If we are really talking about rom-coms, all I want is that if he sees himself in the third perspective, he should want to ship himself with me and not his exes. Like not even say I ship myself with both A and B because both relationships have different strengths etc. I don't want him to entertain any other girl in mind even in that sense. Does that make sense? Commenter, 100% I also believe that they wouldn't have worked out. They let each other go because something was missing or they would have fought to stay together. Now does he know that? I don't know. Oop, that is a very interesting way to think. He made it clear to me that he won't do long distance because he can't do it. And if I were to move away, he'd break up with me likely, just the way he and his ex broke up. If let's say the right woman came in his life, would she change this condition of his? Unsure of the context of him telling others, but he only told you because you asked him would you have rather had him lie? I believe I did right by myself by asking him to confirm what he said. Because what he said isn't appropriate when verbalized to his own partner, judging by the cavalier attitude he had. What matters the most is what he feels truly about me and what happened in his life. Maybe she's a nice girl who he once knew, but that's all she is to him now. And is he happy he is no longer with her because he gets to be with me as a consequence of that breakup? I doubt he feels that way. Commenter, it isn't a competition. He can say he wished they could have worked it out while being glad he ended up with you. Feelings are complex. Look at it this way, what if instead of them breaking up she died? You wouldn't expect him to be glad that she died just because he is happy to end up with you. Unless he is saying he wants her back now, then it shouldn't be an issue. Oop, I don't prefer dating a widower for the same reasons. I don't think it's appropriate for him to wish that they worked out. More on that. I feel that dating a widowed person comes with many challenges, blurring and bending of many rules that are applicable in normal relationships, such as keeping photos, mementos, constantly talking about the late partner etc., and those things make me uncomfortable. It's awful to wish that you're happy they died, and that's exactly the reason I stay away from dating people with that kind of a baggage. I don't expect these people to wish they are happy their partner died. And I shouldn't. But I can always wish someone with living exes to wish they are content with the fact their previous relationships ended, and that those relationships ending and ultimately a good thing, because those ending allowed him to find me. You need therapy because you're so insecure and trying to dictate how he feels. I can't control what he feels, but I can control who I choose to be with. That is why I made this post. To use it as a sounding board as to whether him and I have the same feelings about each other. I have no intentions of changing his feelings, just exploring what matters to me and assessing whether he feels the same way. And decide whether to break up to continue. There is no consensus spot on Ada top comments were NTA, but there were quite a few nah. Update, February 17, 2024. Hi guys, thanks for everyone who participated here. I had already made up my mind about the relationship, however just wanted to use Reddit as a sounding board to confirm what most people think, and most of you agree with me. So I felt secure in my decision. He and I had a talk. It was clear that we are not aligned in the sense in how we feel about past relationships ending. I asked him whether he thinks that things ending with his ex is a good thing ultimately in hindsight because that allowed him to find me. He disagreed with me and yet said he is happy he has me and loves me but can't admit he is grateful for his past relationship ending. I just can't reconcile the two statements. It's too contradictory and I find it will eat away at me if I stay in this relationship. We broke up. Like I said, I don't condemn him for how he feels, I simply think he isn't the man for me. Maybe he needs a girl who can understand him and probably has a history of being with someone she regrets leaving too. Anyway, some people tried to trick me into thinking I am the insecure one when I ironically was the one who proposed that first. But I remembered what my therapist said about boundaries and feelings. They are not right or wrong, they are personal to each person in each relationship, and if they work for two people, why should anyone outside of you two have the right to comment on that? Condescending therapy to anyone is a bad thing, Because one of the most important reminders in therapy is you're there to figure out your own needs and feelings, rather than accept something that's unacceptable to you. My boundaries and feelings with the right person for me will clearly not harm anyone, as I have no intent to changing anyone's feelings or personality. I will walk away. So yes, I conclude I am not insecure, I am just a person with differing needs in a relationship who needs to find someone whose values align with mine. I am not looking for a virgin or anything. I've had enough experience with heartbreak myself. I just want someone who only prefers to be with me regardless of how meaningful their past relationships were. And I'll give them the same.